Good morning and happy Tuesday, everyone. My name is Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. As always, I'm here to help you break down tonight's MLB DFS main slates on both DraftKings and FanDuel. If you haven't already, please like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel. That helps us get more free content like this out to you on a regular basis. Also, if you're not already a member of Occupy Fantasy, check the links in the description below. As a member, you get access to the model you'll see me using throughout the video. We also have a single lineup builder, multi lineup builder, and a private Discord server full of DFS pros to help you improve your game. But yeah, we got a nice 11 game slate tonight. A pretty important slate, I know, for a lot of folks in Discord. I know MN Matt in particular has a ticket to the 333 contest, which is $3,000 plus entry fee, which you won via satellite. Also, there's Micro Millions contests on DK right now. So for those of you who haven't tried mass multi entering, that's a good place to start. There's also a Millie Maker over on DK tonight. So just really great contest selection all around. It is MLB season right now. NHL, NBA are done. Playoffs are over. NFL obviously isn't for a couple months. So the focus now is on MLB. These are the best months of the year, really, to play DFS. We got a nice full set of data to kind of pluck from, and the balls should be flying in pretty nice warm weather across the country. So, just an 11 game slate tonight. I'm going to go through, as always, game by game. I will talk about whether or not I think the pitchers are viable, whether the stacks are viable, and if it's a stack I really like, we'll kind of break down which bats I think we should be focusing on. I'm going to keep a notepad file open throughout this video. At the end, I'll kind of give a summary of where I'm at, but yeah, 11 games, no major weather concerns, so just know that going in. I get Ellie De La Cruz as the cover photo and pulled up right here. He's in a great matchup today. I believe the Reds, where are they? I got another monitor open, but yeah, they're taking on Noah Davis and the Colorado Rockies, one of the highest implied totals on the board. Obviously, De La Cruz, a very well regarded rookie. Obviously, 5-tool player. He's got power and speed upside. Really like him here tonight. He's going to be popular, though, so no surprise there. But let's get into the slate now. Going to jump over to the pitcher page. This is the model I described earlier. Just make sure you have the DK or FanDuel main slate selected. There are some 640 games today that are not on these main slates. So the first game we have to talk through is George Kirby and the Seattle Mariners taking on Garrett Cole and the New York Yankees. So taking a look, just pulling up some statistics. I mean, yeah, we take a look at the model here. We have Garrett Cole popping as the second best pitcher on the slate. George Kirby not too far behind, kind of, I think, sixth ranked currently, but he's right outside that top five. And he's very affordable on DK at 8,700, so I do like George Kirby over there. This is not the Yankees offense that we were expecting going into the season. No Aaron Judge. The rookies, especially Anthony Volpe, have been super disappointing. They just really haven't been all that great. They are getting Harrison Bader back tonight, but that's not enough for me to really want to fear playing pitchers against them. So George Kirby looks solid here. Not drawing much ownership on FanDuel, where he is 10K priced around similarly as guys like Garrett Cole, Clayton Kershaw. So no surprise there, but I do like him on DK at 8,700. He makes a lot of sense as kind of an SP2 option. There's my little notepad file. But yeah, I'm really not all that interested in bats from either side here. George Kirby looks good. Garrett Cole also looks good. So obviously Seattle, they do present some risk. They do have upside as an offense, but they're also striking out nearly 26% of the time against right-handed pitching this season. Garrett Cole's K rate's down a bit, but it's still around 27%, holding opposing hitters to a 124 ISO, 280 WOBA. So Cole has taken a bit of a step back this season, but he's still one of the best pitchers in baseball. So I do not fear playing him here against these Mariners. Plenty of K upside. Obviously, Seattle does have some pop in that lineup, but they do strike out as much as any team in baseball against right-handed pitching. So Garrett Cole looks excellent. If we're sorting by ownership, we see him as the top owned pitcher over on DK at 10.9. Same over on FanDuel, where he's only 10.6, and that's really no surprise to me at all. I do like him a lot on both sites. But yeah, it's pitchers from this game. Really like Garrett Cole, like George Kirby, more so on DK. But yeah, no real interest in the bats from either side here. So moving into the next game, we have Marcus Stroman and the Chicago Cubs taking on Johan Oviedo and the Pittsburgh Pirates. So pulling this one up now. First, taking a look over at the pitcher model, sorting by OF index. Let's see, Stroman, kind of floating right around where Kirby is, 8,900, reasonably priced. And then who else do we have? Oviedo, he's towards the bottom. Do we need to talk through Cubs bats? Not necessarily. So if there's anything from this game we like, it is Marcus Stroman. Oviedo isn't terrible, but he's really not good enough for me to want to roster just a 19% K rate. Really, just not much upside. This Cubs offense around a 160 ISO against righties. They do have some pop, but it's tough for me to want to get excited about them here. So really, the one piece from this game I have interest in is Marcus Stroman. Historically, Stroman not really known as a strikeout pitcher. His K rate is up to 22% this season, though, which is good to see. It's about as high as it's been his entire career. 10% swing strike rate isn't great, but again, it's an improvement on what we've come to know for Marcus Stroman. And yeah, this Pirates lineup, pretty dangerous. They only strike out around 21% of the time against right-handed pitching. But yeah, if there's anything from this game I like, it is Marcus Stroman. I'm not really rushing to play him, but I do think he has a pretty high floor. Um, and yeah, just no real bats from either side I'm all that interested in. I'll take a quick look at the Cubs here, but I don't think they're going to be a stack that we're going to want to hone in on. Yeah, so they're outside that top 10. They rank 13th in team total. So really, on paper, just nothing to get excited about for Chicago. So we can move into the next game. We have Jordan Montgomery and the St. Louis Cardinals taking on Mackenzie Gore and the Washington Nationals. This one should be a little bit more interesting. So Gore, one of the more talented young arms in baseball, was highly regarded as a prospect in San Diego. Came over in the Juan Soto trade, I believe. He has flashed serious upside this season, albeit somewhat inconsistently. I don't mind him here. Excuse me. And then Jordan Montgomery, another lefty who is in a decent spot here against the Nationals, but the Nationals only strike out 18% of the time against lefties, which kind of takes him out of consideration for me. So let's dig into Gore a little bit. The thing about playing Mackenzie Gore here, he is a lefty, and historically, these Cardinals have done really well against left-handed pitching. So he's very, very, very risky, but he does have a 30% K rate this season, which obviously presents some upside. But yeah, I think the safer play is going to be these Cardinals bats. So this is one of those rare situations where if you're playing multiple lineups, maybe you're trying out MME, you could play some Mackenzie Gore and also play some Cardinals. Obviously not in the same lineup, but Gore, I think he is cheap enough. Where is he? 8K on ZK, 9,100 on FanDuel. Not great, but again, cheap enough to consider. He does have a lot of K upside, but whenever we get the Cardinals against the lefty, you kind of have to consider them. They mash left-handed pitching. So really no surprise there. Showing a 176 team ISO, 337 team WOBA, 5 plus implied team total, and they rank third on the slate in terms of OF index. So we have to consider Cardinals bats here. I'm not crazy about him against Score because I do respect him, but at the same time, I mean, guys like Arenado, Contreras both have massive ISOs against lefties. Paul Goldschmidt historically has mashed left-handed pitching. So if I'm picking a side here, it would probably be the Cardinals. But they're going to be pretty popular, and I do think Gore actually is a decent leverage spot. Just know that he's very, very, very risky. It's certainly kind of a boomer bust type play, but he is cheap enough with K upside to consider in a spot where you could gain some leverage on the field. Just keep in mind it's a very high risk kind of situation there. Maybe I could pull up his game logs just to see what he's been up to on my other screen. But yeah, just very inconsistent. I mean, we have starts with Gore where he's taking on the Royals with 11 strikeouts. Phillies, he had 6 Ks. Both of those quality starts. And then last time out against Houston, he allowed um, no earned runs, but only went 5 innings, struck out four. The start before that against Atlanta, he allowed 5 earned runs. I mean, Atlanta's been hitting everyone, but that just kind of shows you the wide range of outcomes for a pitcher like Gore. So the Cardinals are certainly deserving of their high rating of us as a stack. I do like their upside a lot here against kind of a slightly above average left-handed pitcher. But again, any lefty against the Cardinals, I'm going to be interested in the Cardinals bats. So definitely get some Cardinals bats there. Not really all that interested in Nationals bats. I do respect Montgomery enough here. But again, the Nationals, while they're not a great offense, they don't really offer much in terms of K upside. So the one piece here we really like is that Cardinals offense. And then I do not mind considering some Mackenzie Gore, but that's really kind of a large field, super high risk play. So, moving into the next game now, we have Luis Medina and the Oakland Athletics taking on Aaron Savale and the Cleveland Guardians. So Medina's going to come in after an opener here. So if you see Ken Waldichuk listed as the expected starter, don't be surprised. But yeah, I mean, Oakland's starting pitching has been terrible. I really have no interest in either of those arms. And I actually do think maybe we could get to Cleveland here. It's pretty rare that Cleveland's a stack we're really focusing in on. They don't have a ton of power in that lineup. But in a matchup like this, where they're showing a very healthy team total, I think we can certainly at least consider them. Second rated team total on the slate, they're showing a 6.02 projected run total. So let me just pull them up quickly here. So yeah, I mean, against Waldichuk, they have a ton of upside, but again, I think he's only going to be the opener here for Medina. So I got to pull up Medina's numbers. But Medina allowing a 331 ISO to opposing hitters. Actually, I do think they climb up the model once we get Medina as the bulk guy here for Waldichuk. Um, but yeah, I mean, Josh Bell, Jimenez, Ramirez all have very healthy ISOs against right-handed pitching. And again, one of the highest implied totals on the slate. So I'm going to go ahead and add the Guardians as a top stack in my notepad file here. I think we're going to have to consider them. But yeah, I mean, historically, or at least looking at this season, they haven't been one of the better offenses in baseball. But when you can get them in a matchup like this, they're almost always low owned. Taking a look at ownership here, I take that back. They are the most popular stack on the slate. So if that's going to hold, I'm totally comfortable getting away from Cleveland. This is an 11 gamer. There's a lot of other places to look. But if we see these numbers drop below like 80% aggregate on both sites, I would have more interest in Guardians bats. But um, Jose Ramirez, one of the best bats on the entire slate. I mean, let's hop over here. Take a look at what we get coming out of Cleveland. But yeah, no surprise, Ramirez is the top bat for them. Naylor, they got two Naylors now. Bo Naylor, the catcher, in there as well. They both look fine. So pretty cheap stack, and I think that's why they're getting so much love. But just keep in mind that there are going to be probably one of the higher owned offenses on the slate. So on an 11 gamer, there's a lot of merit to getting away from them. But yeah, I would not have any interest in Oakland pitchers here. As for Aaron Savali, he's one of these arms who usually does a decent job limiting damage. Only two earned runs allowed in each of his last two starts in tough matchups against San Diego and Boston. But really just not much K upside, which makes it difficult to want to get to him. So I'm just pulling up some numbers now on Savale if this page would load. But yeah, while we wait, we could jump over to the pitchers page. And let's see. Yeah, he's coming in as the fifth best OF index play on the slate, getting ownership on both sites, 7,900 on DK, 8,400 over on FanDuel. The A's strike out around 25% of the time against right-handed pitching. Savali, like I said, not much of a K rate, only 17%, but he does a great job limiting damage. 0.60 ISO allowed to opposing hitters this season. It is a small sample size we're dealing with. 252 WOBA. So he's just done an excellent job limiting damage. Obviously, you're kind of walking a tightrope when you play pitchers that don't have very high K rates because they can't allow many earned runs if they're going to hit value. But he is cheap enough in a good enough matchup that I would consider Savale kind of as a floor option. You're not going to get as much upside out of him as some of the other pitchers in this range, but I do think he's safer. And I know Oakland's offense is a little bit underrated, but at the same time, I mean, collectively 145 ISO for their projected starting lineup against right-handed pitching, 306 WOBA, and that 25% K rate. Really not something I'm afraid of. So I really do like Savali here. I won't say I love him because he lacks that K upside, um, but yeah, he's certainly in play. So he's worth considering. Moving into the next game on the board, we have Noah Davis in the Colorado Rockies taking on Ben Lively and the Cincinnati Reds. So pulling up this one here, I do imagine we're going to see a lot of love for the Cincinnati Reds. Yep, no surprise there at all. 53.7 top OF index rating on the slate. 173 ISO if you round up. That's one of the top team ISO ratings. 470 or 347 WOBA, excuse me. So the Reds, another stack we have to like here. Surprisingly lower owned right now than the Guardians and a few of these other teams. Let's sort by ownership. Yeah, they're coming in second, but pretty close to Arizona, LA. thought they would be more popular than Cleveland. I think it's really a price thing, so definitely keep an eye on that. But as things stand, we have to like the Reds here. I mean, Noah Davis allowing a 370 WOBA. He's been worse to lefties, no surprise, as a right-handed pitcher. So guys like Votto, Friedel are going to look really good here. Let's actually go over to the batters page. I know Votto was mispriced last night. It's 2K over on FanDuel. Um, and yeah, 2,600 tonight on FanDuel, 4,200 over on DK. Reasonable price, totally like him there. Ellie De La Cruz, our cover boy, 5,300 on DK, 3,900 on FanDuel, like that price as well. Friedel, McLean, Fraley, India, definitely keep an eye on the starting lineup, but really, all these hitters, pretty much 1 through 6 in this order, are going to be appealing. Even 1 through 7, if we see Fraley, the lefty batting seventh, he's going to be really appealing. Probably lower owned than a lot of the other top plays here. Yeah, we have him as 0% owned right now. I do think that comes up, but that just goes to show that he's a good way to get different if you are stacking Reds. That's Jake Fraley. A bit of a pinch hit risk, but at the same time, massive power against right-handed pitching. And when you're playing a popular stack, you need to look for those lower owned bats. So I do like Friedel leading off. I do like Fraley. Then the obvious guys like Votto, De La Cruz, McLean, India, all solid options. The Reds, very popular tonight, but they really should be. I like them a lot here. I have no interest in one Noah Davis. On the other side of things, we have Ben Lively, 25% K rate on the season, doing a decent job holding opposing hitters to around a 280 WOBA. And this matchup is actually pretty favorable. Looking at the Rockies here, around a 24% K rate against right-handed pitching. Do I want to play Lively? I don't know. I'm gonna pull up his game log now. It's been a few weeks since we've seen him twirl a quality start, but he has been finishing around 10 to 15 fantasy points over on DK. Um, so yeah, I don't think it's insane to maybe get to Ben Lively here, 7,100 on DK, 8K over on FanDuel. Drawing a lot of ownership though, 21% on DK, 13 on FanDuel. I don't know that I can trust it. If you're desperate for value, you're loading up on bats, maybe get to some Ben Lively. But for me, he's a little bit too risky for my taste. So we can move into the next game here. We have Cutter Crawford and the Boston Red Sox taking on Bailey Ober and the Minnesota Twins. So we get the pitcher page still up. Crawford towards the bottom, really not getting any love for him. Then Ober, who has been towards the top on some slates, obviously, excuse me, not as appealing here in a tough matchup against the Red Sox. Going to pull up some numbers quickly on these two. But yeah, Crawford, 280 WOBA allowed is nice to see, not allowing a ton of contact, but he is allowing a 170 ISO to opposing hitters, 241 ISO to opposing lefties. So let's take a look at the stack page. Yeah, Minnesota popping towards the top. I'm actually not surprised once I look at what Crawford's been doing against lefties. Second in OF index rank, 176 ISO, pretty high up there in Woban team total as well. So we do need to consider Twins bats here. I'm gonna write them down. Definitely favor the left-handed hitters. But if we're talking about left-handed hitters, that's Kirilloff, Kepler in the middle of the order, Julian likely leading off. Joey Gallo towards the bottom of the order. And then righties like Correa and Buxton are probably fine here as well. So I really have no interest in Crawford, no surprise there. But I do have a lot of interest in Twins bats. And in comparison to some of the other top stacks tonight, they're relatively low owned. So definitely honing on those Twins. Let me just confirm that the lefties are popping towards the top. Um, but yeah, this is a nice contrarian option here. The thing is, they could get into the bullpen pretty quickly, in which case that could kind of limit their upside if they're seeing a lot of pitchers that handle lefties better than Crawford. But for now, you got to like the lefties here. Gallo, Julian, no surprise there towards the top. Buxton, a bit of a matchup proof play as a righty. He's fine here. Then Kirilloff, Kepler, Correa, another guy from the right side that we can probably trust. So I do like the Twins a lot here, probably lower owned than they should be. Over on the Boston side of things, I mean, Bailey Ober, 22% K rate on the season, 120 ISO allowed to opposing hitters, 260 WOBA. This Red Sox offense around a 175 ISO against right-handed pitching. So wouldn't be surprised to see them popping pretty highly here. And yeah, what do you know? They're right around that top five spot. Um, rating top 5 in OF index, 12th and 11th in ISO and WOBA respectively, so they're not really jumping off the page. But at the same time, I mean, Ober's been a bit of a disappointment for the Twins. I think they were expecting a little bit better out of him to start the season. I mean, he's done a decent job limiting damage, 7 Ks in 3 of his last 3 starts, so he does have some upside. But at the same time, he's not pitching deep into games, hasn't been super efficient, so I don't really have much interest in Ober here. Depending on ownership, I don't know that I have that much interest in Boston. But yeah, they're very low owned, 19% aggregate on DK, 26 over on FanDuel. So as a contrarian stack, I actually do like the Red Sox. GPP only, high risk. But yeah, Ober's been a bit of a disappointment, and this offense obviously has serious upside against anyone. So um, really, really like the Twins there. That's your priority. Don't mind the Red Sox bats. No interest in either pitcher. Moving into the next game, we have Ryan Nelson and the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on Colin Rea and the Milwaukee Brewers. Another interesting game here as far as bats go. We see Arizona popping towards the top, Milwaukee just towards the bottom of that top 10. But let's start with the Arizona bats. So Colin Ray has been pretty good, but he's allowing a 190 ISO to opposing hitters, 250 to opposing lefties. So Corbin Carroll is probably going to be one of the best hitters on the entire slate. No surprise there. He's been putting up MVP-like numbers in his rookie season. Love Corbin Carroll here. 9.5 OF index. That's just massive, massive. So even if you want to use him as a one-off, I think Corbin Carroll is one of the best bats on the entire slate. Um, this is a pretty righty-heavy lineup for um, the Diamondbacks. They do have Marte and Perdomo likely hitting from the left side as switch hitters. I mean, not even to say likely, they will be hitting from the left side as switch hitters. So those three, Marte, Perdomo, Carroll, probably my favorite bats here. Gurriel has had a near 300 ISO against right-handed pitching this season. I'm fine playing him from the right side. Alec Thomas just got the call back up from AAA. He's been kind of bouncing up and down, but he is very cheap if you need to lower the value of the stack. And I don't know if he's healthy. I don't see him in the projected starting lineup right now, but if Pavin Smith were to slide in, that's another lefty bat I'd be considering. But Carroll, Perdomo, Marte, those are your priorities. Gurriel's fine. Thomas is value. Jake McCarthy is value as well. There's a lot to like here for Arizona. So we're going to say the D-backs are another stack we like. But we need to favor the left-handed hitters. So definitely keep that in mind when stacking them. But I'll touch on that at the end of the video when we are summarizing the slate. On the Milwaukee side of things, Ryan Nelson has not been very good, near 200 ISO allowed to opposing hitters, 360 WOBA. Um, we don't see Milwaukee popping towards the top of the model, but they are close. I mean, they're top 10 in every category. Ninth in OF index, ninth in ISO, sixth in WOBA, seventh in team total. So there's no reason really not to like them here. Um, Similarly to Rhea, Nelson has been worse to left-handed hitting, 248 ISO allowed to lefties. So Yelich, Winker, Rowdy Tellez, if he's healthy and in the lineup, he's going to be viable here as well. But the Brewers lefties fine as well. Certainly lower owned than some of the other stacks we've been discussing. But yeah, definitely favor those left-handed bats if that's where you choose to go. Really like Yelich if he's leading off. Jesse Winker from the left side would be the one maybe I consider skipping. I think he has one home run all year, just hasn't been very good in terms of power, but he's also probably dirt cheap. So if you're playing Brewers, definitely favor the left-handed batters. I prefer the Arizona side of things, but I think ownership's going to reflect that. Zero interest in pitchers from this one, though. Now we move into a game where we do have some interest in the pitchers. We have Nathan Eovaldi and the Texas Rangers taking on Dylan Cease and the Chicago White Sox. So sorting by OF index, we have Eovaldi towards the top of the list here. Cease kind of towards the middle. Texas has been very tough offensively, so I think that's what's going to keep people off Cease. I don't know that I want to get to him at all. Pulling up his numbers quickly, 25% K rate on the season. He's done a decent job limiting power, but this is just a terrible matchup. I mean, this projected starting lineup for the Rangers has a 360 WOBA, 208 ISO against righties, so maybe the worst matchup for any pitcher on the board. We see Texas just outside the top 10, so I wouldn't think you were crazy for going the Texas bats. Tough for me to call him a priority here, though. If there is a priority in this game, it probably is Nathan Eovaldi. Feels overpriced at 11K on both sites, 11.1 actually over on DK. But looking at his numbers, 25% K rate on the year, 250 wOBA allowed, which is obviously very low. Just a 111 ISO allowed to opposing hitters. 12% swinging strike rate, one of the best rates on the slate. So if you can afford Eovaldi, I do like him a lot here. This White Sox offense has mostly been a disappointment this season, coming off a quality start in which he struck out 9 Angels, allowing 3 earned runs. But Eovaldi, a pretty good bet to hit value here. So I'll go ahead and add him to my pitcher list. I think he's one of your safer arms. Obviously, you have to pay a premium for him, though. So not surprised that his ownership's lower than guys like Cole, Kershaw, Valdez, etc. But if there's anything I like here, it's Eovaldi. I don't think the Texas bats are crazy. Dylan Cease obviously has some upside, but he's very difficult to trust. So again, Eovaldi, the one piece of that game I really have much interest in at all. Moving into the next game, we have Justin Verlander and the New York Mets taking on Framber Valdez and the Houston Astros. So we did see Max Scherzer kind of dominate last night in this same matchup. Maybe we can expect a similar bounce back here for Verlander. I mean, 7,300 on DK, 8,200 on FanDuel. He is very, 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 very tempting here at those price points. But the thing is, his K rate's way down this season. He's been allowing a lot of earned runs. And I know Scherzer looked great last night, but this is a different guy. So it's tough to trust him on the road. And the main reason I'm not really rushing to him at this price is just a 20% K rate for Verlander so far this season. And this Astros offense K is around 21% of the time against righties. So even if he's doing well, I don't know that he has the ceiling that we're going to need on this slate. But I do respect him enough to probably not get to much Houston. Yeah, Houston towards the bottom half of the stack page in the model, so no surprise there. And like I said, Verlander, even at a very cheap price, I do expect we see his ownership to come up a bit throughout the day, but he's going to be difficult to trust here. But if you're playing multiple lineups, you're trying out the MME, you're playing micro millions, something like that, I can certainly see mixing in some Verlander. But again, just a very tough matchup. He does not look like himself right now. But on the other side of things, we can take a look at Framber Valdez. No surprise, he comes in as the fourth best pitcher on the board. Just pulling up some numbers: 27% K rate, holding opposing hitters to a 115 ISO and 270 WOBA. Swinging strike rate around 11%. He does a good job getting batters to strike out looking, though, so I don't think we have to look too deeply into that. The one issue in rostering him is that the Mets only have a 19% K rate against left handed pitching this season. So Valdez, he is a solid option here: 10-2 on DK, 10-9 on FanDuel. But for his price, the upside against the Mets isn't all that appealing. And obviously the Mets do have some pop. Pete Alonso is back in the lineup. Lindor's been tearing the cover off the ball. They're pretty much healthy. Maybe Alvarez sits tonight. I think he got injured during the game yesterday. But other than that, I mean, this is a healthy Mets lineup that doesn't strike out much against lefties. So while I do not have much interest in them as a stack, it's enough for me to maybe pump the brakes a bit on Framber Valdez. But yeah, he's at least viable. So keep an eye on the ownership for someone like him. But for me, he's a GPP only play. I just wish we had a better upside. But keep an eye on the starting lineup. Maybe they give one of their big guys a rest, someone like Alonso, Lindor, or Marte. That combined with Alvarez getting a rest could be enough to make this a more appealing matchup. So situation to keep an eye on for now. I'd rather play Valdez than Mets bats, but I don't have much interest. Then on the Verlander side, I'd rather play him than Houston bats, but I don't really have much interest on either side there either. So moving into the next game on the board, we have Seth Lugo and the San Diego Padres taking on Anthony DeSclafani and the San Francisco Giants. So Lugo, he's been out for about a month. He's returning here. I'm not sure how stretched out he is. 7,500 on DK, 7,600 on FanDuel. Let me see if I could quickly pull up his game logs. But yeah, while I talk through that, I wouldn't be surprised to see either of these stacks towards the top, but at the same time, I'm not expecting it. Yeah, both just outside the top 10, around a 4.5 implied team total for each team. So really no priorities there. And Lugo early in the season was outstanding. I just don't know that we can really rely on that coming off an injury. I don't imagine he's fully stretched out to pitch deep into this one. So even if he's doing well, that ceiling is going to be significantly capped. Um, but let's see. Oh, did he make some minor league rehab starts? Yeah, I don't know why it's giving me so much trouble pulling up these numbers here. All this for Seth Lugo, all this for me to say that I'm not going to play him. So kind of wasting time. I won't dig too deep into that one, but yeah, even if he's stretched out, I'm gonna have trouble trusting Lugo here. So I don't really have much interest in Lugo, but at the same time, I'm not crazy out about San Francisco Giants bats. This could turn into a bullpen game quickly. And then DeSclafani, he's been not great, allowing 5 earned runs in 2 of his last 3 starts. Some K upside, but it's very inconsistent. So we don't really see the Padres popping much in the model. They're very expensive. I think that's the main reason why. Excuse me, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them climb a bit throughout the day, so just keep an eye on that. Right now, not really rushing the Padres bats, but I could see their upside improving in our model as the day progresses. But for now, there's just nothing in this game. I respect the arms enough not to want to stack. I respect these lineups enough not to want to play either arm. So, moving into the last game on the board, we have Clayton Kershaw and the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on Reed Detmers and the Los Angeles Angels. A little bit surprised that Kershaw is the top arm on the slate here. He has been really solid though. 10-5 over on DK, 10-7 on FanDuel, coming off 3 consecutive quality starts. He struck out 9 in 2 of those 3 starts, 5 his last time out, but he's done an excellent job limiting damage, excellent job recording strikeouts. So while I was surprised at first, I mean, digging a little deeper, it makes total sense that he's the top arm on the board here. 30% K rate on the season, holding opposing hitters to a 290 WOBA. A little bit more power allowed than we like to see, especially against righties. 167 ISO allowed to righties, but overall a 150 ISO and a 15.2% swing strike rate, by far the best on the board. So we do like Kershaw a lot here. This Angels offense has been pretty inconsistent outside of Otani, and Kershaw generally does a good job against left-handed hitting, which should help to neutralize that bat. So he's still going to have to navigate guys like Trout, Drury, Renfro. But this is an excellent spot in terms of upside. We see that reflected in the ownership over on DraftKings. A little bit under-owned actually over on FanDuel. But again, Clayton Kershaw, no surprise, one of the best pitchers on the board this evening. Just making note of that. And then yeah, let's see what we have on the other side. Obviously, a terrible matchup for Reed Detmers. I mean, Detmers 26% K rate's nice to see, but he's allowing a lot of contact. 340 WOBA, um, 14% swing strikeout rate for him. So if you want to get very risky, maybe you go to Detmers tonight. He has a lot of upside for his price. I think of the sub 7K pitchers on DK, he's probably your best option, but best, I use that word with a grain of salt because he's facing a Dodgers offense that's obviously extremely dangerous. 224 ISO against left-handed pitching for their projected starting lineup. Just a 19% K rate, so they're seeing the ball well. And yeah, they're just outside our top 5 here. I do consider the Dodgers to be a strong stack. And you're getting them in that late window, so if you want something to sweat late at night, I do like Dodgers bats. Definitely favor. Um, I won't even say favor the right-handed hitters because the lefties have been doing just as well against Denver. So guys like Freeman are going to be fine. I think we see mostly righties other than him, but Dodgers bats, another stack we can consider. All right, we're through the game by game now. Just to kind of recap the entire slate, I'll pull up my notepad file here. Only a few arms I really have interest in. I'm not going to go too cheap in pitcher today. Garrett Cole against Seattle looks good. Clayton Kershaw against the Angels, no surprise there. Eovaldi a bit overpriced, but I like him against Chicago. George Kirby against this mediocre Yankees offense certainly looks solid. Stroman, K upside a bit this year, enough for me to want to consider him against Pittsburgh. And then Aaron Savale, if we're talking about value against Oakland, probably your best bet there. Not a ton of K upside, but he's done a pretty good job limiting damage. Then Framber Valdez, not a good matchup here with the Mets, but keep an eye on that lineup. They have been resting guys, and I do think Alvarez may miss because he's injured, which would improve his upside as well. So those are the arms I'm mostly considering. I think Ben Lively gets some love against Colorado, but he's pretty risky. Then I mentioned Mackenzie Gore as a high upside option, but obviously it's never fun playing lefties against the Cardinals. So mostly going to pay up for pitching today. There's enough value bats where I think you can get different with your stacks. Clicking over to the stacks page and then talking through the stacks we like. The Reds at the top against Noah Davis at home. It's not Coors Field, but Davis has been pretty bad everywhere he goes, so no real surprise on that one. Talking about the Cardinals next, and yeah, just pulling up their matchup just a second. Yeah, Mackenzie Gore, who I just talked through. I mean, talented lefty, but it is a lefty, and the Cardinals have upside against every lefty, so really no surprise there. The Guardians are getting a combination of Waldichuk and Medina, which certainly presents a ton of upside. I really like them here, but it looks like they're going to be super popular. So keep an eye on their ownership. If it comes down, I'd have more interest. We like the lefties for the Diamondbacks. Corbin Carroll, a good bet to hit a home run. The Twins here look solid as well. Favor the left-handed hitters for them as well. The Red Sox are kind of a boomer bust play here against Bailey Ober, who is a talented arm. He hasn't been great this season. But if you're looking to get a little bit different, maybe some Red Sox bats are going to be in play. And then we have the Brewers, favor the left-handed hitters, and the Dodgers in that last game of the night against a pretty talented Detmers, but also a Detmers who allows a lot of power. So a lot to like on the slate. We got an 11 gamer. Good luck tonight, everyone. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. Like the videos, subscribe to the channel. Feel free to ask questions in the comments below. I'll definitely check them periodically throughout the day. Let's have some fun tonight, everyone, and make some money. Take care and good luck.